I should probably go check and see if Rose is any better yet. Oh, Rose. Oh, Kenji, come in, I want to speak with you. Huh. She's got more of an English accent than I remember. I was right! Thank you! Thank God! Oh. She does have an English accent. I know it's probably a bad English accent that I'm doing, but nobody's perfect. I wanted to apologize for my behavior earlier. I was certainly not behaving like myself. May I try introducing myself again? Of course. She reached her hand out and I took it and shook. She smiled at me sweetly. My name is Rose. I hail from the southern part of England. Ah, I thought I could hear an accent. Well, it's not nearly as thick as it used to be, that's for certain. So, what exactly happened to make you behave so differently? Well, Michelle is more of the expert when it comes to the science behind it. But going through the time window definitely has effects on every person, male or female. There used to be far worse things that could happen before we were allowed to go through, like complete adrenal failure and becoming comatose. It took us a while to work out the kinks on those sorts of things. So, you tested it on things? I can see her shift uncomfortably. I'm not exactly comfortable talking about it. Is there anything else aside from that you would like to know? Yeah, how'd you start working for my grandfather? Ah, well, that's an easy one. He was searching for some of the best scientific and engineering minds in the world had to offer. His words, not mine. So, you were studying to be an engineer too? No. I was studying general science and pharmaceuticals. Also brain chemistry, human biology, all sorts of stuff like that. I was going to be one of those people who works on new medications. I still do when I'm not working here. Wow, cool. What medications have you made so far? That's classified. Sorry. Anything else you want to know while you're here? I noticed some fencing headgear on the elegant chair in her room, and a saber leaning against the wall. So you're into fencing? Oh yes, I grew up learning how to fence. I also enjoy a bit of tennis from time to time. Very active then. Yep, I go out every day for a run around the lab perimeter and work out in the gym near the entertainment center. I could give you some lessons sometime if you want. I warn you, however, I get very wet whenever I work out. Oh, I mean sweaty. I get very... never mind. Anything else you want to ask me? Are you feeling better now as opposed to before? Well, it usually takes a full 24 hours for the effects to wear off physically. Mentally, myself and Kyo can revert back pretty quickly, though we still tend to slip up during the drawback period, as I did just now. Please excuse me while I... Does Michelle not go through the time window? Or do the mental effects just last longer on her? Michelle is our commander and advisor. She makes sure nothing goes wrong while we are through the time window. She kind of has to stay on the other side and watch no matter what, since she knows the technical stuff much better than Kyo and I. But what about my grandfather? Tensai keeps track of many other things while the time window is open. Usually he's there for emergency backup. Earlier today, when he went to get you, even though I was through the time window, because he trusted Michelle enough to handle it on her own. He respects Michelle quite a bit with his technology, and she was one of the biggest helpers in actually putting it together. I see. Any other questions? I think that's all for now. I should let you rest. I'll talk to you more later, I hope. Of course, Kenji. You're living here with us now. You obviously see me around. Her smile was absolutely stunning. I stepped out back into the hallway with a wave. I should visit Michelle. Hey, Michelle. Oh, hello, Kenji. Still around, I see. Yeah, everything alright? Just fine. Just fixing up a few things on the database before we prepare our next jump through the time window. Takes a lot of energy and planning to make sure everything goes correctly. Ah, I see. Was there anything you wanted to know, Kenji? I can answer any questions you have. I know your grandfather wanted you to wait, but if you're up for it, I can give you a bit more detail on the workings of the slab. Yeah, actually, I was kind of wondering about a few things. Like what? Well, why did you agree to help my grandfather build this? Ah, that's an easy one. You see, I'm the eldest of the trio of girls here, and such, I've been pursuing my scientific and engineering career for quite a while now. I've always wanted to be a part of a bigger project, push things to their absolute limit. Sometimes, that's the only way to discover new things. When your grandfather came to me, I was still over at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, getting my PhD in medical engineering, minoring in material science engineering. Gramps saw this as the perfect combination for his studies and asked me to help out. Don't you find it kind of suspicious that he got all girls for his project? At first glance, it is extremely suspect. Yes, I had my doubts about his intentions. But once you get to know him, you can tell that Gramps is a very nice and genuine man. He didn't come to us because we were attractive, or because we were female. He came to us because we were some of the most intelligent in our fields across the entire world. Your grandfather, he did his research. He went for younger people as opposed to older people because he felt they had more open minds. So, did he tell you why he wanted to make a time machine in the first place? Gramps is a very interesting individual. He literally told me the first time we discussed his idea of his that he wanted to do this simply to see if he could. I asked him, what if you put all this time, money, and resources into this pipe dream only to fall on your face? And you know what he told me? He said, well then, at least I tried to do something impossible instead of just dreaming about it for the rest of my life. Gramps wanted to test his imagination, his ideas. He wanted to put forth his formulae and break the laws that mankind had set for themselves. And look at that, he did it. So what do you guys use it for then? Well, we were going to use it to confirm history, merely as observers. We were going to go back and make sure that things in the history books actually played out the way they were. Scientists and engineers working as historians? If you want to simplify it like that, by all means. Unfortunately, we didn't get to do that for very long. What do you mean, what happened? I suppose I should tell you this now, rather than later. One day, as we were nearing the end of the development, we were hacked by an espionage organization. Somehow they gained word of our developments and stole what was essentially the complete research that we held in our possession. The company's name is Chrontec. Ever since they copied the blueprints from under our nose, we've had to do two jobs. Our main historian job, as well as tracking them and make sure they don't alter time in any way. If they do that, well, time could potentially fall apart. We knew that risk when we started developing the machine. It's unfortunate the blueprints got out of our hands before we could stop Chrontec. Oh man. How do you prevent them from doing anything? We usually cut them off in the past, use some disruptors I developed to send them back to their own time without hurting them. Tensai is working on getting a lock on their location in order to shut down their facility for good. It hasn't had any results as of yet, however. Dang. Have you tried negotiating with them, telling them the dangers? Of course! They go against our words, saying that science was meant to be tested. They aren't inherently evil people. We just aren't sure whether they're responsible enough to handle time travel technology. Well, when you think about it, is anyone responsible enough for it? Sorry, forget I said anything. Was there anything else you wanted to know, Kenji? Yeah, about what happens to people who pass through the time window. Ah. Now how did I know you would ask about that? I'm asking purely for scientific... Yeah, save it, you perv. So basically the science behind it is that when a person undergoes the time window, their endocrine system gets a sort of hypercharge, if you will. It causes it to work overtime and thus produces an outlandish amount of estrogen. This, among a few other things, made the girls grow more womanly curves and act a lot more seductive. So it messes with their brain. Essentially, yes, but we've tested it enough to make sure that none of the effects are harmful or permanent. So we'd ask you to stay in your room for 24 hours after any of the girls comes back through the time window, as to prevent any sort of activities. I shuffled uncomfortably as she said that, a stern look on her face. I nodded silently. Now then, anything else you want to know? I think that's all I can handle for now, Michelle. Thank you. I'm more than happy to talk about these things, Kenji. Feel free to talk to me about anything else that may confuse you. For now, go get some rest. Yeah, alright. I'll see you tomorrow. Interesting how they were able to explain that in a scientific term. I always thought it'd be impossible. I'm exhausted. All three of them seem really nice, though. It'd be nice to get around them and get my mind off things. I dressed in a loose t-shirt and some shorts and hopped down to my bed, quickly passing out. Ugh. I hear a loud, blaring arm as I fell out of bed onto the floor. Ouch! Ugh! What the? I rubbed my head as I stood, heading towards the door out to the lab. What's going on? Chrontec is at it again. Sorry to wake you, Kenji, but this was an emergency signal. Have you pinpointed the location yet, Michelle? Just about. Rose, Kyo, go get suited up. I'll get this down in the meantime. I'll try to locate the source of their own time window while a trace is still available. Best of luck, Gramps. I stood there awkwardly as the alarm blared. The sounds of rapid typing on the keyboards and muttering and muttering. I can talk. I can read. I bumped my mic. I'm sorry about that. I'm really screwing up today. And the muttering under Michelle's breath, the only real thing is keeping me occupied. After a few minutes, Kyo and Rose stepped back in. Rose's outfit I'd seen before, but Kyo's took me aback. Whoa! Kyo Katara was looking right at her as I exclaimed my shock. She blushed. What? It's really flexible and I picked it out myself. No, sorry. It looks nice on you. I just wasn't expecting it, is all. Alright, Kenji-san, if you say so. Not as if he'll be able to see it for long. Now get in there. I've got him targeted and ready for confrontation. Be careful, you two. You never know what kind of trouble they could be trying to rustle up. What are they trying to alter this? What are they trying to alter this time? Mid-18th century Germany. Apparently trying to do something about the Saucian Wars. It always has to be a war, doesn't it? I carry a sword for a reason, Kyo. I know, but still, can't they try to alter something else? Like maybe Pocahontas? We all know we want her to see her get together with John Smith. It'll make the Disney movie much more accurate. Apparently they want to play peacekeepers through time. I have no idea what kinds of insane plans they have, but now isn't the time to discuss it. Get going. I have an eye on you guys, so don't worry. They both nodded as the time window opened in a blinding flash of white. They stepped up towards it and vanished through the portal. The light disappeared and Michelle put up a video on a large monitor in front of her. I leaned over her shoulder to see what... and was able to see the scene along with her. So, this is where they're at. How can you see this? The time window has some very helpful abilities, such as an observance mode that lets me see what the girls see for as long as they're through it. As you can see, they made it through just fine. Now, watch and learn, kid. I'll never get used to this sort of thing. Just hang in there, Rose. It'll be fine. Yes, thank you, live stream thing. That was the wrong button. Return. H. Gonna have some good choice of screenshots. Beep. Both girls grit their teeth as their chests suddenly surged into their respective clothes. As they moved through the time window's vortex, more and more was stacked upon their already prominent busts. They dared not speak as their clothes creaked and groaned, adjusting to the new size of the blossoming orbs they were meant to keep covered. I swear, we get bigger each time! As long as we don't keep any of it, I don't care. Aw, what's the matter, Rose? They look nice on you. Rose blushed at Kyo's words as their chests made one final surge outwards. The sudden rush of growth caused them to both gasp as they reached for their new size. Still just as perky, somehow, as before they went through. Damn, Kyo! Phew. Made it. Honestly, I don't know what those metalheads will think they can achieve. How do you stop an entire war from happening? I don't know. They're so weird like that, but I guess we should start looking. The duo walked across the open field, seeing a band of warriors in the distance. Let's hope we don't bump into whatever's going on over there. Who cares? We're invisible to them, remember? Yeah, but I always feel so naked in this. Honestly, I don't know why you refused the petition I made that we should actually go in naked. 'Cause we didn't know for sure that they couldn't see us, Kyo. Also, I'd rather not travel through time in the buff. Thank you very much. I wouldn't mind, but Michelle advised against it. That explains why your outfit is skimpier than mine. And also why your skirt is better when we grow. Yeah, well, enough boob talk. Can we get back to work? Where are those Chrontec freaks anyway? Look who finally made it. Tweedledee and Tweedledum. So nice to see you dopes again. Come to try to foil the plan, as usual. And what are you getting at now, Mizuki? Where's Bunny? Doing your dirty work while you talk trash? I'm right behind you, you airhead. Okay, so now we got Ninja and the Bunny Girl. Gosh, I thought we had gotten curvier. If you've got it, flaunt it, right, Mizuki? That's right, my dear Bunny. Now then, if you two would kindly buzz off, we have some work to do. Yeah, right. No, the whole point of us coming here was to stop you from doing whatever you're trying to do. Oh? Good luck. It's going to take us a while, and the longer we're here, the bigger you two get. I mean, that applies to you guys too. Well, the big difference here is that we enjoy every minute of it. Yeah, well, you're not going to stay here much longer. Rose drew her sword. Ah, yes, the oh so scary sword. How terrifying. Oh, that's actually a pretty good CG as well. Why does she have a tray? She has a tray. It could be sharp. I mean, for all we know, she could be like she could be like that guy from James Bond. What's his name? Q, I think it was. I continued watching them from the monitor, seeing the scene play out one bit at a time. I noticed Kyo pull out a feather duster. I wasn't sure from where, but she had one, probably between those big gazonkas she's got. She swiftly flicked it, and a whip stretching from the tip, becoming as long as she was tall. It seemed to crackle with some sort of energy. You better back off and go back to the time you came from. My, your powers of intimidation knows no bounds. While Mizuki tended to have a very flat tone in her voice, I could sense the sarcasm all the way through the screen. They stared down each other, Mizuki pulling out some weapons of her own, throwing stars and other weapons that could have been owned by the ninjas I've seen on TV. The silence seemed to hang in the air before they all lunged at each other. Rose was a graceful sight, twirling around as Bunny went for a high kick, her stiletto heel just missing the eloquent knight's face. Rose's chest jostled around with her rhythm, and I could tell Michelle shot me a look that said, "You better behave yourself now." No promises. I can't make any promises. Kyo stayed stationary, cracking her whip towards Mizuki, who unleashed her own series of weapons. They flew past her, and I watched as a ninja star went straight towards Kyo. She bent backwards far enough to avoid injury, but not far enough to prevent the shuriken from whisking between her cleavage and coming to a comfortable stop, much to our bearers. Are you serious? Kyo's boobs caught a shuriken. Like, I'm pretty sure that would hurt. Oh my god. I could see her face quickly turn a burning pink as she dug deep to retrieve it, before retaliating by swinging her whip above her head and thrusting it at Mizuki's hand. It managed to latch onto her, and as soon as it did, Kyo squeezed the base of the duster, sending a jolt of electricity force towards the kunoichi. It managed to connect, Mizuki shrieking and shaking before seemingly falling apart. Her clothes seemed to disappear first, and all I could do was watch as this dark naked girl dissolved into nothingness. I felt a knock against my head. Michelle reminded me that she was indeed right next to me. Enjoying the show, perv? Hey! Look, it's not my fault that their clothes conveniently fall off first. I mean, yeah, fair enough. That's all she had to say before turning back to the monitor to watch. I turned my attention over to Rose, who was struggling against Bunny. While Mizuki had seemed quick, she had been felled by a slight misstep. However, the taller girl seemed to be putting up a much stronger fight. Her legs were swift and kept Rose moving quickly every second, dodging and weaving through the flurry of kicks and knee jabs that were being sent her way. Eventually, Bunny got a hit in. As she did, Kyo came up behind her, materializing what looked like a tea tray. Is now really the time for tea? Watch and learn, kid. The tray launched from her hand and began to glow a bright blue color, whirling quicker and quicker as it got closer to Bunny. Unfortunately, Bunny took notice before it got too much closer and quickly lunged her heel to deflect the tray. It was then I realized the tray was a distraction for Rose, who had gotten back up from being knocked to the ground. Rose swiftly took her sword and plowed it into Bunny harshly. Bunny gasped, stopping with her legs still cocked up in the air. Before anything else could happen, her clothes, like Mizuki's, suddenly fell to pieces. She didn't seem to mind somehow. I could hear her chuckle, a nasty grin sprawled across her face. Don't get too big for your britches, girls. Believe it or not, we accomplished what we needed to do here before you could interfere. I do hope we can meet again. She was cut off as her form disintegrated suddenly, falling into dust. Both Kyo and Rose seemed exhausted. Michelle sighed, brushing her long hair from her face. Alright, Kenji. Go to your room. What? Why? Why did that say Mizuki? Hang on. Yeah, that says Mizuki when it's supposed to be Michelle. I noticed an error. Do you really need to ask that from how Rose was yesterday? Now go to your room. Where's Michelle? That's supposed to be Michelle talking. First she's Mizuki, now she's nobody. Do you really need to ask that from how Rose was yesterday? Now go to your room and don't come out until tomorrow. And why should I? Kenji, listen to Michelle. Trust me, when you do, bad things tend to happen. I couldn't believe this. Even my grandfather sounded intimidated by Michelle. She is a dominatrix. I huffed, turning towards the hall and going into my room. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens next time, Michelle. An hour or so passed as I laid on my bed, thinking to myself and staring at the ceiling. Even after having a day to let it all sink in, these new things happening, these new concepts and ideas, they still made no sense. And they still frightened me. If people could go back in time now, then they could likely change things for the better. But from watching movies and reading stories, I knew about time travel, time paradoxes, and the butterfly effect. It wasn't at all that easy. I thought about my parents, about my home burning down in front of me. I thought, if I could go back and stop that from happening, would it be the right thing to do? If I did that, then I'd have my family again. But then I would never have known about my grandfather's lab or met the girls. But in that case, I would never have gone back in time to stop the fire. Gah, my brain hurts! Just as I said that, I heard a knocking on my door. Come in. The door slid open, revealing Michelle on the other side. I swiftly sat up, looking at her stern face as she looked at me through the doorway. Is it alright to enter? Yeah, of course. Have a seat. I offered her a chair and she sat softly into it. She sighed, then looked up at me. Thank you, Kenji. She was silent for a moment, and the confusion slowly hit me. For what, Michelle? For leaving when I asked. I know how tempting it must be for a grown man as yourself to just leave two girls with exaggerated figures and heightened desires alone. So I commend you for your restraint. I could feel the warmth rush my face as I rubbed the back of my head bashfully. Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, it's only polite. Yes, you're right, and I truly appreciate it. So in return, next time, you may feel free to visit either of the girls on their downtime. Just give them some time to recover from the effects of the time window first. Wait, so I needed permission to see them all of a sudden? Well, I suppose not, but I assumed you... Again! Where is Michelle's name tag? There's a lot of errors going on right now. Well, I suppose not, but I assumed you knew that they could be a bit much when under the influence of said effects. But you've proven yourself to be mature enough. She stood, her short meeting seemingly over, before turning back towards me and giving me a steely gaze. But I swear, you try and take advantage of those girls behind my back. She made the threatening gesture of running her fingers across her neck in a slicing motion. You won't be in the lab much longer, kid. An awkward silence hung in the air for a minute before her mood suddenly flipped cheery, giving me a big smile before swinging my door back open. Sleep well, Kenji! And with that, she left. Michelle still mystified me with her behavior, but I shrugged it off before sinking back into my bed and nodding off to sleep.